All right, welcome to the video. We're doing another one like this where we're just gonna walk around this beautiful property. I'm gonna tell you a story about something that I think is really important. Essentially my negative synchronicity story. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of positive synchronicity stories. We'll walk around, just get in there. There's a sandbag I just bought for some workouts, did one today. And if any of you haven't seen, we've been doing ice baths in that bin, which I barely fit in. Maybe I'll have a clip come across of me doing it. But anyway, right now I want to go over a story that this taught me such a huge lesson and was such a reminder. It really is when you understand these principles, these universal laws, and you start applying them to your life and you start becoming aware of them, you really start to observe them more in your life, and you really start to see them working, and you really start to see just how they're working all the time, how it works every single time for every single person, and how it'll work in whichever direction you intend it to work in, which means it'll work in the positive, meaning the law of attraction will start bringing you the things that you want in your life. It'll start bringing you abundance. It'll start bringing you wealth, happiness, joy, fulfillment. If that's what you're transmitting out into the universe, if that's what your thoughts, words, actions, energy is tuned into. But on the flip side of that, on the other side of the same coin, it'll bring you the exact opposite if that's what you're transmitting. And sometimes this can happen so quickly. And I think when you start getting really used to this kind of energy, or get used to these principles, and you get more potent and more powerful at doing it, it can even work in the negative. And so we're going to be going over how to avoid that, and a story that just, oh my God, this taught me so much. And again, it's just amazing how the universe, it doesn't just use positives. It doesn't just use, all these other things. Sometimes it will bring you things that are in the moment, not really desirable, but they're brought to you to teach you a lesson, and it worked, because ever since this happened, it hasn't happened again. And so I'm going to tell you about my negative synchronicity story. And so for those of you who don't know what a synchronicity is, it's kind of like positive confirmation of universal principles. So for example, we talk about angel numbers all the time on this channel, and angel numbers could be considered a synchronicity, in the sense that, let's say you learn about what 111 or 4 ones represents. You keep seeing it synchronistically, and it's lining up with what you've been told it represents, and then you're seeing kind of the effects of that in your life time and time again. A lot of times you'll see synchronicities, a lot of times in money, like, oh, I've been in such a positive momentum with my energy. I've been, then finding all these coins on the ground, and then this person just bought my most expensive service and I made $1,000 or whatever, like little synchronicities like that. Things that, one way to look at synchronicities is kind of momentum in a certain direction, and then these little results that play into that momentum, if it makes sense. So it's kind of like, oh, I was being all grateful for these things, and then I just went through my day and all these amazing little synchronicities came in for me to be grateful more and more and more. So you can think of it in that way. Like that's something I find all the time. I'll be grateful for certain things, and then more and more really cool things will happen during my day in which to be grateful for. These little synchronicities will come in. Oh, there's Tiger again. We'll have our little peek at Tiger. There he is, just sitting there on his little perch, little sun condor. So this story is all about the negative synchronicities, because again, it will work in either direction. So what happened is Lily and I went on a trip to Malaysia. And this was kind of a last minute trip. A friend of mine invited me to come on down, and last minute decision, because we were actually going to be going somewhere else, but that kind of fell apart. And so we went. He was playing in a football match, a really big one in Malaysia. He plays professionally for a team in their first division. And I thought this would be a really, really cool thing to go see. And so, we fly there, and I just kind of notice, even from the beginning, the energy's kind of off, because we're kind of in this rushed energy. I was getting actually kind of gut feelings about maybe I shouldn't go. I don't know why, but I kept getting this gut feeling that, I don't know if I really want to go. I want to see my friend play, and I was very excited about that match. But, I didn't really have any Malaysia wasn't the place we really wanted to go. We wanted to go to some other places. And for whatever reason, I had this gut feeling about it. But I still made the decision, okay, I'm going to go because this is a great chance to see my friend play. He's playing a huge match. I want to go there. I want to experience this. I want to hopefully see him win, which he did, which is incredible. Maybe I'll have some clips of there. And so essentially, I went to this, even though it was against my better judgment. Again, I wanted to see the game. But for whatever reason, I was getting that gut feeling. And for any of you who have ever gone against the gut feeling, probably know what ends up happening, right? So we go there, we're rushed, we're really rushed trying to get to the game as well because there's like a delay at the airport. I think there was like a delay or something with our flight, and then we get there and it takes us forever to get through security. There's these huge lines, and we got there pretty early. We thought we'd be making good time. And then so we're also exhausted because we haven't slept. We go and we get a cab to the hotel where my friend had left the tickets. So we go there, and I got the time wrong. So I thought the game was earlier than it was. So I thought we were going to be late for the game. So I'm rushing as well. I'm being, super heady, super rushed. I'm not in a good energy. And then we go, again, we're still tired at this point. I'm not thinking too positively. I'm thinking pretty negatively. We frantically do all the things. We get the tickets from the hotel. We head over to the game. We're actually, I think, an hour before kickoff in the end. So we managed to get there in time. And we watched the game, and it's great fun to watch the game. Actually, one of the only good things that happened when we were there was watching the game, and I even managed to get really good seats because I was kind of opportunistic. We were supposed to be only allowed to sit in one area, but we managed to sneak into one of the better areas, so we got a really good view of the pitch. We were right behind some of the cameras that were filming the game, so we had this really nice view. Because I'm like, well, we've come all the way. I'm gonna at least try to get into a better seating area here. So we did that, and then the game ends, and me and Lily, for whatever reason, we're in this pretty negative energy, and we get into a fight. I can't really remember what it was about. I don't actually remember what it was about, as it tends to be when this kind of thing happens. But we're both on edge, right? We're both tired. We're both kind of had a very stressful day. And instead of maybe taking the time to shift our momentum back into a positive realm, like to break the momentum of the negativity that was happening, the tiredness and all that, because you're more susceptible to it when you're tired and all these different things. Instead of doing that, we just decided to stay in the negative energy for whatever reason. And so again, this momentum built, and all of these things while we're on this trip, because we're like, okay, if we're going to go, we'll stay for like 3 or 4 days, right? We'll get an Airbnb, we'll stay, and we'll go from there. And so we basically have a miserable time for the rest of the 3 to 4 days where we're kind of allowing, and again, this is our choice. We're making the choice to do this, and again, I'm glad this happened because it was a huge reminder. We made the choice not to shift our energy. We're all going to go through stressful moments. We're all going to go through times where we're not in our ideal, energetic point, or we're not feeling the way we want to feel. That's inevitable, Pain is inevitable in life. That kind of thing's inevitable. But suffering is, for most of it, in my eyes, very, very, unessential, not necessary. And so instead of, for example, talking the next day and going, look, we got a little, out of hand. We were feeling rushed. We were tired. Let's try and make today a great day. Let's go explore the city. Let's meditate. Let's do things we know. And by this point, we know this was over a year ago, but we still knew these things by this point. Let's go do the things we know that will raise our energy. Another thing one of my mentors used to say, or still does, is people's problem isn't that they don't know what to do. For example, people know how to lose weight if they're a little overweight and they want to lose it. It's not about knowing what to do. It's about doing what you know. And so we're sitting here, in Malaysia in a pretty foul mood, in a negative spiral, so to speak. And instead of going, hey, let's use the tools we know that will shift our energy, we know will help us feel better, because we're just not in a good place right now, and it happens. Instead of using those tools we teach, that I teach on here and that she teaches on there, instead of doing that, we decided to almost bathe in our own crap, as Dr. Shefali says. She says bathe in your own shit. Now it kind of makes avoiding that word meaningless, saying bathing in your own crap. But essentially, instead of like doing the things we knew, like if we had just both taken 30 minutes to meditate, or had done some other practice that we know would have shifted our mood, the rest of the trip probably would have been fine. And we would have built the momentum in that direction, right? Because only what you focus on will grow. What you focus on grows. So you can focus on the negative, or allow yourself to be steeped in it and continue moving from it. Or you can make a conscious choice to shift that energy and to start your momentum in the other direction. And again, we never made that choice. And so here's what happened. These negative synchronistic things started to happen. It started with, again, the rush decision to go, the gut feeling about maybe I shouldn't, because we were kind of rushing it. If I had, if we had made the decision maybe even a week or two before we were due to go, it probably would have been much easier. We could have organized things better, but we were very, very rushed. And it wasn't one of those like, oh, jump into the unknown moments. It was not, it wasn't something in our heart in that regard to go do. It was more like I wanted to go do this, but I made a last minute decision because something else got canceled. And I think it would have probably been better for both of us to have not gone. And so, someone there honking the horn. And so, instead we went, it started with that. We were rushed. When we got there, spent forever, we're tired. We have this argument all in the first day. And again, instead of doing the things we needed to do in order to get back on track, we decided to let it fester. And then over the next 3-4 days or so, we didn't do a single thing, I believe, to, again, build the momentum back in the other direction. And a few other things that happened. We got a really shady Airbnb host. And so the first night we stayed in the Airbnb, we quickly had organized for ourselves before we headed out. We got that Airbnb, and then we needed another one because we're like, okay, we're gonna stay here for a few more days. So we got another one, and we just had this guy who flat out lied to us. He lied about what the Airbnb was. He was, we had to wait outside and do all of these other things when we're in Malaysia, not knowing what to do, waiting for this guy. We went around and like people were just rude to us. They were just, not friendly. And we just kept letting this affect us instead of doing anything about it. We just kind of let it fester. We let it just grow. We would talk to each other and be like, the people here, they suck. And we're comparing them to other people and all this stuff. We're getting judgmental. All of these things because we're spiraling in this negative energy. And so we get this then Airbnb guy who, again, when we go to meet him to get the key, he turns up late. He, lies about some of the things that are in the Airbnb, and then tries to make, he tries to claim to us like all of these things. Oh yeah, he gives us some BS story, which is clearly not true. It's clear he's lying. So then we don't like the experience we have, and again, a lot of it is down to us because again of our energy. And then the kicker, and this negative synchronicity spiral is just happening. The final thing that happened is we come back to Thailand, and we're just exhausted. We're not having a good time. We're not enjoying ourselves because again, we still at this point have not done any of the things we know we could be doing to build momentum in a different direction, to stop bathing in our own shit, so to speak. And we get back. And we're going through immigration in the airport in Bangkok. And we've just flown into Bangkok from Malaysia. And we're gonna go from there to our next place, which is where we actually are in Thailand. So we don't live in Bangkok. We were gonna fly somewhere else. We get stopped at immigration, who say that we've renewed our visas or something too many times. And they're trying to get us to book flights to leave immediately back to our countries, as they said. And a lot of times this happens, it's kind of a mixed bag with something like this. A lot of times it's who you get on the day for this thing to happen. And so a lot of times it would be fine. And this was the only time that it came to really bite us in the butt. And someone tried to be like, hey, we're not letting you in. We had this really, really kind of just in our face, like we're very confused. We have no idea what's going on because this has never happened to us. And we're thinking now we're gonna have to leave. Like we already have all our stuff in Thailand. We didn't bring all that much with us to Malaysia. And again, this all happened only when we were going through this negative spiral. We're attracting all of these people on the same frequency as us. And so we do manage to get through it. They're saying, okay, we'll let you in for 30 days, but only if we see you book flights for after those 30 days to go to back to your countries or whatever. So we do that in front of them, but they're being really shitty to us. They're not like being like, oh, can you do that, or nice about it. They're like giving us time constraints and doing all this stuff. And of course, we're already in a bad mood. We're already panicking. So we're just like, oh my God, just do whatever we have to do to do it. We're in that negative spiral. And then we're running to get to our flight. So then we miss our flight to get back to where we're supposed to be. So we have to spend the night in Bangkok. I think it's like early in the morning, so we have to it's like 2 a.m. or something, so we have to get a hotel now in Bangkok. We go to the first one and they don't have any room, even though they told us they did, so then we have to go to another one. And I think you can see where I'm going with this, right? It's just one thing after another after another. And how many of you how many of you know someone who's like that all the time, right? Like it just seems like one thing after another is just going the way they don't want it to go in their life. Kind of like that, right? Like, you get the gut feeling not to go. You go and we get into a fight with your partner, and then everyone's being kind of, you perceive it's negative to you, and then you're just like exhausted all the time. This negative person comes in, which was the Airbnb person to us, which we had never had really that happen before. We had it happen once, but it wasn't that bad. This one was pretty bad because it was just very deceitful. And just one thing after another. And I've never in my life, especially since doing the work, since going on this journey, I've never had one thing after another like that. And just this kind of negative spiral happen that I can remember for a very, very long time. Again, since I've become aware of all this stuff. But it taught me this important lesson. Stop bathing in your own shit. Understand that your energy you are responsible for. And the only way I get that person, the only way we feel this way, the only way these things continually happen, we get stopped at the border, they try and kick us out, we miss our flight, all of these different things, have to spend more money to get the flight, first hotel's not, they say they have room, they don't, we have to go to another one, all of these different things, right? We're just struggling through this week. But we did it to ourselves because of the energy. Again, we could have, after that first night, again, because it happens to everyone, things like that happen. You're just having an off day or whatever else it is. We could have that first night, woken up the next day and gone, you know what? I choose not to be in this energy. I'm going to do what I need to do to shift. I'm going to do what I need to do to break the momentum that's moving in this direction and to put it in a more positive direction. I'm going to meditate. I'm going to do my great gratitude practice, all of these different things that I know shift me. And Lily would have probably done the same, and we would have been great. We probably would have enjoyed the rest of our time there. Who knows? Maybe we wouldn't have even had been stopped at the border. Maybe we wouldn't have had the problem with the hotel. Well, we wouldn't have. All that. We wouldn't have missed our flight. All these different things. We probably wouldn't have gotten that Airbnb person. Right? All of these different things. So this is what can happen, though. Again, the universe doesn't really care what you give it. It will just give you back the same level of energy, the same frequency as you give it. And I remember being finally in our destination, which was actually here. This was over a year ago. We were here again, and I went to the beach that's right down there, just down the road. And I kind of just spoke to the universe, and I actually said thank you. I said thank you to the universe for this lesson, because it was so clear what was happening. It was so vivid. It gave me such a potent example of how this can work in either direction that it literally has caused me to never do it again since then. And this was over a year ago. I've never ever had a period that I can think of, I don't think so, ever, where that's happened again, where things like that have happened in that way. And if anything, the only thing that's been happening now is these positive synchronicities, this positive momentum being built. And so again, what's the lesson here? I know this is kind of droning on. Is understand the energy you give off is the energy you'll receive back. And at any moment, you can change that energy. So if you find that you're in this like negative spiral, negative pocket, at any moment you can make the decision to do the things that you probably know, or we give you, or someone else has given you, or you've tried or experienced, to shift. It is a decision to stay in whatever you're currently in. And if what you're in is an incredible energy of positivity and joy and love, then of course you want to stay in that. I would assume, right? If that's what you want, right? But if you're in this energy that we were in, this very negative, fear-based, paranoid, angry, lower levels of consciousness energy, there is no reason we couldn't have shifted it. The things that happened after weren't necessary. They were just, again, the universe. They say, you know, when you're not aligned to your heart, when you're not in these higher energies of closer to what you actually are, the energy will kick your ass until you get the message. I'll leave you with one other thing. I remember watching an interview by Neil Donald Walsh, who wrote Conversations with God, and they said, someone asked him, because he was going over lessons, like how a lot of times some things will happen in our life because we're meant to learn a lesson from it, right? We're meant to get something out of it, to get something out of the experience. And then some woman, I think, asked him the question, why do the lessons have to take so long? And he just responded, because you haven't gotten it yet. The lesson will continue until you've actually learned the lesson. And that's why when we came back, it didn't continue. We learned the lesson and immediately saw what was going on and went, oh, that's why. And it stopped. You know, another great example of that is when people, for example, keep getting into the same romantic partnerships or attracting the same friends that are abusive or whatever else it is. Why? Because it's not going to stop until you learn the lesson of maybe boundaries or being a little more clear on who you want to attract. But it will keep happening until you learn the lesson. So anyway, guys, that's going to be it for today. Thank you for watching. Again, if you are experiencing something similar, stop bathing in your own shit. Understand you can change it. Use the tools that you have. Use what you know to shift your energy into something that you actually want to be in and build momentum in that direction. There is no need to go down the negative synchronistic path. And if you notice more and more negative synchronicities happening in your life, then it might be time to do a little meditation. It might be time to intentionally shift your energy and take it from there. Anyway, I'm back at the home. So I'm going to end the video now. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. And I will see you in the next one.